Welcome back. You're listening to The Spectrum on WSB Stony Brook, and you just heard the album Malady Mare by The Morning Sea. We are now joined by two of the members of the band. How about we start off, just introduce yourselves, your role in the band, where you're from, how you guys met.
Just like general info. This is Tony. I play lead guitar in the band. Originally from Queens, so New York resident. And this is
right. My name's Andrew Nesbitt. Everyone just calls me Nez. I'm the drummer in the band. I'm originally from Wisconsin, born and raised, and I've been in New York for a couple of years. And I was sort of discovered by Tony and Adam Cohen, our band leader, lead singer, and primary songwriter. About 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago.
Wow,
it's been a little over 3 years. I was playing at an open mic, and these guys came and saw me, and came and talked to me about this recording project that they had in mind for the future. And here we are, 3.5 years later, and 2 albums later.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So I'm going to start off two kind of easy questions, just kind of like a warm up. The first one being your musical inspirations, like who you listen to when you were younger, and what are you listening to now?
Okay.
Yeah, sure. What was I listening to? Well, for me, one of my bigger inspirations for guitar for a while. Maybe now still is Ray Toro from My Chemical Romance. I was a big fan, and did some research back then when I was kind of really trying to understand just the guitar a bit better, and learned that he was really a Brian May fan. So then I started listening to Brian May of Queen. I'm into Justin Hawkins from The Darkness. It's just more of that kind of just kind of a hard rock kind of vibe, I went through a metal phase, most definitely, which I think I spoke to you about for a little,
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I think we were talking about Seosin, and you were talking about how they're coming up with something new or whatever.
Oh yeah, they came out with a new song called Silver Lining, I think, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, it sounded pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was definitely a Warped Tour kid, for many years. But yeah, as far as guitar work, what I tend to gravitate towards more is just kind of just riffy kind of rock, Yeah. What are you?
Okay, a little bit of a loaded question because I'm a little bit all over the place. Today, the things I was listening to were Chris Stapleton record, this wonderful country record that was released this year, and some old Sunhouse recordings, and David Bowie's first album. So
it's pretty good.
Yeah, like the David Bowie.
Kind of swimming a little bit all over the place. When I was a kid, my first ever favorite band or favorite artist was Michael Jackson. And holy God, did I listen to Michael Jackson on repeat. I had a cassette tape of this album he put out in 1991 called Dangerous, and I actually listened to the cassette tape, at least side A of it, so much that I wore it out, and some of the songs kind of disappeared, so I had to convince my parents to buy me a replacement cassette tape for that. So I try to draw influence from just about anything I see or hear. Even some things that I don't really like, there's always something to be learned from it.
True.
And there's, as far as music goes, I'll as long as I'm in a mood for it, I'll listen to just about anything and everything except hard metal and hardcore and electronica or house or
house.
Whatever those club kids are listening
Dubstep.
I don't really dig it, man.
House.
Deep house, pseudo house, shallow house, whatever. There's too many subgenres for me to keep track of.
You know what I have listened to a lot of recently is Arctic Monkeys. I've been revisiting Arctic Monkeys a lot.
Nice.
Just because, why not? It's why not?
Yeah, they got really big in the past couple of years, really.
Yeah. Like I mean, they just have like a really like fun sound. It's just like kind of raw. It's a little garagey. You know, it's got a little bit of grit to it, which I really dig.
A
That's
little bit
kind
of
of
everything.
my steez.
So since we're talking about genres, your band defines its genre as Gotham Americana. Americana, of course, is defined as using blues and rock, like root rock elements. We hear about with the acoustic guitar and the brass elements in your guys' music. But my question is, where does the Gotham come from? What does it like mean for you, like your guys' sound?
So the Gotham Americana thing came really from our bassist because our bassist Sonny he produced the record. You know, he was the one who kind of like took the helm on this record, and and you know, like when we were listening to like the tracks back, you know, he was like, well, you know, it's kind of like Americana, you know, it's got like a little bit of rock, a little bit of blues, you know, it's got that kind of feel to it, but then it's a little darker, it's a little like moodier. So he was just like talking about how it's got a bit of that New York in it, you know, like New York tends to be like kind of a dark, edgy, gritty kind of place, you know. I mean, people coming from New York tend to have that bit of a vibe to them, you know, and he was just like, you know, like it could be New York Gotham, and he's like, eh, and then like he started thinking about like Gothic Americana, but then that would have been too dark. But then like Gotham is just another name for New York, you know, like New York City is also known as Gotham. And then he started calling it Gotham Americana, and then people just started kind of jumping on board with it, which is cool because like people will ask, they're like, "What do you guys define yourselves as?" And we're like, Gotham Americana, sure."
Never heard of that before.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move on to some album questions.
Sure.
I got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of them.
Okay.
The first being, which I asked pretty much every band, what was the meaning behind the album art, and pretty much how did you pick the name Mal de Mer for the album? Of course, it means under the sea in French, which I did look up on Google Translate. I'm not going to lie. And that's pretty much it for the question.
I mean, we could answer this question as best we can, but should we call Adam for this one?
Yeah, Adam actually has the clearer vision of that sort of thing. Although part of it is kind of an extension of the aesthetic that we've been going with since we started as a band. Even starting with the name The Morning Sea. That like we're not necessarily trying to be kitschy and nautical themed everything. However, our first record called Strange Captive has the cover is a picture of a mermaid in a bathtub. Mm-hmm. Right, so the mermaid part of the album art on Mal de Mer, although it's in a different sort of context, is sort of a common thread that's been going on for a couple of years now. Pretty sure the title Mal de Mer just came from the song he wrote, Mal de Mer, and he had told me what inspired the song, but I can't remember.
It was probably a girl.
It was probably
it usually
it's always a girl.
Yeah, it's always a girl. Like every single song on this record is about a girl. Like Mal de Mer, it means seasickness in French.
Oh, my fault. I thought it was
No, it's cool. I didn't know that before Adam came in and was like, "Hey, I've got this idea." But it means seasickness, and like there are like two meanings to it. Like one meaning we all talked about, and the other one Adam is kind of more about. But one of them, it's like, so you know when people say like they're homesick, you know, it's like they're sick, you know, for home, like they want to be home. So to be like seasick, it's not necessarily like just being like on a boat and like being like sick. It's actually something that's common amongst sailors, amongst like people that, you know,
they long for the sea.
They like long for the ocean, like they long for that kind of like, yeah, I miss the sea, and like, you know, I want to be out, you know, on the ocean. So like Mal de Mer kind of has that meaning, and then the other meaning, I guess like that's like an Adam question, which I just texted him. I was like, "Hey, come in," because and he said he's gonna come in like in a few minutes. So if you want, you know,
I'll try to save those questions for him.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Back Burner, Baby was probably like one of my favorites off the record because it's pretty much like showed what you can give as a band with like the acoustic guitar, the singing, but like that powerful like was it a bass guitar or just guitar?
It's like it's bass guitar stacked on top of like a couple of rhythm guitars, which kind of gives it like this kind of fat sound, which we thought was kind of cool. Like yeah.
Okay, keep going.
No, like I was just like there's that one part where there's like a bridge and then we're going back into the chorus and that's definitely like really stacked and it's just like that song kind of came in later in the recording process so by then I think that we had like by then like our sound was already starting to like evolve already. Do you know what I'm saying? So like it was like a little heavier, a little more stacked, a little bit more. I don't know, but like just like a thicker sound. But
so my next question is about the song "Lonely Hearts in the Cosmos." I thought it was pretty. It stood out because of the cosmos element of space, but like the album being meaning seasickness and like with the sea felt like out of place.
Mm-hmm.
wait, yeah, like somebody wrote about it about how like they love music that makes them feel like they're kind of what did they write? Something about like getting lost in a forest, then kind of like also like the weightlessness of being lost in space and how that song kind of like makes those two things happen at the same time. I don't know, like what do you think of that track?
I actually approach it a little bit more abstract than thinking of the cosmos as people literally floating in space. The cosmos is just kind of this is my own personal take on it. I just think of it as kind of an all-encompassing everything in existence that has ever existed or will ever exist. It doesn't necessarily have to do with being in outer space. At least to me, but I didn't write the song.
How's it going?
This guy did. We're joined by Adam Cohen.
I wrote the song.
He wrote the songs.
So the question was pretty much like the album being seasickness and pretty much being like the theme of the sea. What was the idea of going behind like a song like in space instead of like say like the deep abyss of like the blue sea instead of going like that route?
Well, I mean, there is the song that's sort of about the deep abyss of the blue sea, right? The Mal de Mer, the title track, sort of covers that territory. And, so this record, the songs weren't conceived of together as sort of a concept album, so to speak, right? Like that song came together later. So the song, The Lonely Hearts in the Cosmos, that song wasn't necessarily written with saying like, okay, this is going to be a part of some song cycle about the sea. It was just a song that was written and then it became a part of this group of songs kind of later on. But I think that it still ties in thematically in that Mal de Mer and Lonely Hearts in the Cosmos to me feel very much sort of like companion pieces in a way, right? Like they're both sort of about these lonely hearts, so to speak, for lack of better eloquence. They're about people sort of floating around in this environment, right, with sort of other people doing something similar and kind of trying to traverse their way through that environment and find connection or find love or find, so just for Lonely Hearts of the Cosmos, that environment became space instead of the sea.
It was also written like a while ago, right? Like it's got some.
That is an older song in terms of this group of songs. That is one of the older ones. On the timeline.
So my next question, pretty much is a good question because you pretty much produced the album. Was what was different between this release and your older release, Strange Captive, and like making it and mixing it? It's like all those different elements.
So for For Strange Captive, like Strange Captive was kind of it was more of like a studio album in the sense that like at the time I was looking to work on some stuff, work on some music, and approached Adam about making some music, like putting something together. And we started like going through all the songs that he'd written, and just kind of figuring out what needed what, and then we started looking for those whats. Okay, we need a drummer, we need horns, we need a piano, we need a choir, whatever it was. And then we went out and started looking for these people, which is actually how I met Nez. I met Nez at the Parkside Lounge in the Lower East Side one drunken night, and I was like surprised that he called the next day because he played like an excellent set that night, and I just kind of remember being like, "Oh man, like I'm doing this thing, you should totally be on it." And he's like, "Okay." And then the next day he called and he was like, "Yeah, like you're producing something, right?" I was like, "Yeah." So he came in and everything was like done in the studio. And then it wasn't until that record was done that we were like, "Oh crap, we need to play this live." So then that's when people started getting pulled in to actually play it live. So that first record was kind of more like the band trying to learn what it was about, figure out like what it was. Whereas Mal de Mer, by then we kind of matured as musicians, as songwriters, and we like had kind of developed a certain sound. And then that's when Sonny came in, and Sonny was like, "You know what? I want to produce this record, and I want to take it. I want to take it a different route." So like the first one has like a definite bedroom charm to it. Like it wasn't done like in, I don't know, like super big studios or anything like that. But the second one was. The second one had like a lot of people working on it. So I think that's pretty much right.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. So my last question on the album, kind of like one of the simpler ones. What's the most significant part of the album to you? Whether it's a couple of lyrics or just a chord from the guitar or like any instrumental part.
For me, it's kind of the all-encompassing vibe of the whole record. It has a sound, it has a feel, it has a whole series of moods to it. I think it's actually set up really well by the opening track, Mal de Mer, and even the intro to it with the kind of like swimmy guitar swells and how everything is. I love it. I love the way the music makes me feel when I listen to it. You know what I mean? Like just as a whole thing. That wasn't very eloquent. I'm sorry.
It was so, and I'll say to sort of piggyback on that, I was going to say something similar, which is that the first few moments of the opening track for me are really special. Like it sort of immediately sort of puts me in the mood for this album. Like I feel like something that I feel really great about, that I feel like we were able to do, and that Sonny was able to do with his production and everybody that worked on it, was to create like a very specific mood for this record. And I think that the opening sort of sonic business that happens in that opening track really does that really well. And I also think that the last track, the sort of closing moments of Cold Quiet, the way it sort of fades out, I think sort of bookends that really nicely. So
I think it's pretty cool how it goes, because I noticed like throughout the tracks it goes soft to like a mellow to like fast paced, like kind of like harder parts of the album to like soft again, mellow, and hard again, but end it with soft.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like a flow.
Valleys, man.
So somebody wrote that like when you listen to this record, it's kind of like reading a really, really good book. You know, like you read it from cover to cover. It's not something that you just kind of like would just listen to like the one track and then put it down. It's like you listen to that first song and then you're like, okay, and then like you just kind of keep going with it, and then it just kind of takes you places because of those peaks and valleys, which I thought was really cool.
So that about wraps it up for like the album questions. The last two questions I have is, where can your listeners find you, and what are your future shows? So if people like what they heard from the album, to see you live, pretty much.
Well, we got a show coming up in about a little over a week. We're playing at Rockwood Music Hall, Stage 2, one of our favorite rooms in New York City. So April 8th is our next show. What's the set time?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock?
9
o'clock.
Friday, April 8th at 9 o'clock at Rockwood for New Yorkers. And then at the moment, we're trying to sort of plot out some things outside of New York. So hopefully, over the coming months, we're going to maybe take the show on the road a little bit and kind of go see some parts of the country that we haven't had a chance to see yet. So
stay tuned for development.
Stay tuned.
Also, if you want to hear the band's on it's on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, like pretty much wherever you listen to music, you can definitely find the Morning Sea.
All right. Thanks, you guys, for coming on the show. Much appreciated. Definitely, if you're in Stony Brook area, we'd love to have you like live, do something maybe on campus. Who knows what we're doing? We got like a whole bunch of different events at the station, so
That'd be awesome, man.
That'd be great.
all right. So that about to wrap it up, folks. So we're going to move on to a new playlist. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.